So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have with us Tracy Robinson, who's managing director at Woodvale Studios. So, Tracy, firstly, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Woodvale Studios, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I certainly will do. Well, my name's Tracy Robinson, and I've been working with Woodvale Studios. We're 10 years old next year. And previous to that, we were a company called Concept Merchandise, and I've been working with them for the previous nearly sort of 15, 20 years.
Wow.
Um, well, yeah, I know, a long time. And basically, we're a business that supplies gift wrap, gift bags, gift accessories, ceramics, gifts, notebook stationery to many of the UK's largest retailers. We work with people like Tesco, John Lewis, Waitrose,
Wow.
and we work in partnership with them. We are quite unusual because we're a small business, and we're a
Yeah.
small business that has had some very long-term relationships, and we're competing against the big boys. So yeah, we're a super business. It's quite female orientated,
Great.
and we really try and work in partnership with those retailers to make sure that we're the people that they want to pick up the phone and talk to and give opportunities to.
Wow, that's that a great history, and obviously longevity wise, 10 years with this bit, and then and the other 15, and so that's a very clearly you're doing a lot of things right. And
Yeah,
also, as you said, you're working with large retailers. So I mean, I'm keen to know what you would say are some of the tips for working successfully with large retailers. We hear a lot of what's the right word? Horror stories is a bit too extreme, perhaps, but the
yeah.
challenges you face. What are some of your experiences and any key tips on approaching and working successfully with them over time?
Yeah, well, it's interesting actually because my background, I started off as a buyer for Woolworths many years
Right.
ago. And
Yep.
after sort of university and traveling and all that type of thing, I had actually ambition to be a buyer and work in London and was offered a job with Woolworths and I learned some great experience. And it was really useful then to sort of to put together ranges and really understand what was important for buyers.
Yep.
After about 5 years as a buyer, I was headhunted by a company called Fine Art Developments, which was then later bought by Hallmark as their
Yep.
product development director. And then ultimately I became sales director as well. And I I realized then that the more you can get underneath the buyer's skins and
Yep.
solve their problems, the
Yes.
better a relationship you can have with them.
Yep.
Because, and as a coming from a buying background, I knew what was important to buyers. And I always try and, first of all, wow them, and secondly,
Brilliant.
solve their problems.
Yeah.
And that's how we all work as a team now. So I left Hallmark after I had my second child and started working as a consultant. And as part of that consultancy, was asked to join what was Concept Merchandise at the time by a guy that I used to work with in Hallmark. And we basically sort of built a business through relationships,
Yep.
people that we both knew in the industry, opening those doors and then making sure that we were the preferred supplier. And that's what we've continued to do. And that's what I continue to do nowadays.
Yep. Brilliant. Brilliant. So, I mean, early days. How did you get into procurement in the first place? Clearly, obviously going down to Woolworths. What drew you towards that?
Oh, that's interesting, actually. Well, my father, we had a family business. I'm from York,
Right.
and we had a family business that was a sort of a third generation business that was a stationery wholesaler.
Right.
And I used to spend my time, in the holidays and helping at doing stock takes. And, from a child, I used to they used to do toys and stationery. And my brother and I used to be there on the weekends, sort of
Brilliant.
peddling around the corridors of this wholesale warehouse. And then over time, obviously, I used to work in my holidays and developed. And so understood from my dad that buying was a great opportunity. Loved the whole stationery area and buying of that type of product. and I did a business studies degree at Manchester Poly because I wanted experience. You
Yep.
know, quite ridiculous at the time. You know, no one actually said to me, as they didn't in those days, well, actually, you know, it may be better to go to university. But I was like, no, I want to go to a Poly because I want to go out and do work experience. And I did.
Brilliant.
And so I worked for a year in an advertising agency,
Brilliant.
thought that's not for me, but it was great experience. It was fabulous. And then after university, decided that, you know, I liked the sound of this buying job. I liked the sound of putting ranges together and being in charge of my own destiny. And so spent a year and a half traveling, nothing to do with work at all. But then when I came back, like I say, I applied for jobs and got the job with Woolworths, which set me off on the right path, because during my time at Woolworths, I bought decorations, I bought stationery, I bought party. We had buying trips to China, to Italy, to America.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, a
Yeah.
fabulous experience for somebody living in London in their 20s, and, you know, living life at both ends, really.
Amazing, amazing. What a great story. So you were destined from a very early age
Yeah.
to be here right now. So looking back, I mean, obviously you've had a long career with this business and the previous one. What are some, as you've grown the businesses, what are some of the biggest challenges and obstacles you've had to overcome?
Well, first of all, when my children were small, I worked as a consultant for this business, and Howard Partington was the MD.
Right.
And then, as he wanted to retire, he asked me if I would consider taking over. And my kids were older at that point in time. And it was also a point in time where he was deciding that the original business, concept merchandise, was to be sold.
Yep.
He could get his money out, basically.
Right.
And
Yep.
there's only so much due diligence you can do when you're selling a business. And he sold it for all the right reasons, both for the team and for him personally. He sold to a business that basically we found out afterwards just wanted us for our cash.
Oh my
And
goodness. Right.
yeah, so we were literally bought, and within 12 months they'd gone into administration,
Oh my
and
goodness.
therefore concept was taken into administration as part of that whole
Yes.
basket of companies. And there's only so long that you can sort of, you know, we then put ourselves up for sale, and we were trying to sell, and we were actively pursued by one of our biggest competitors,
Right.
who basically dangled us along and dangled us along. We opened, as part of that sort of, you know, selling process, we had to open our books to them, and then they kept extending the date they were going to make the purchase. And on the last day, where if we didn't do it on that day, we'd go into administration, they said that we're going to pull out. And so
Oh,
therefore we
great.
went into administration,
Great.
which
Nice.
was traumatic. We're
Yeah.
a close team. We'd worked together for a long time. I'd been MD for about 18 months, but worked with the business and the team for a long time before that. And it was absolutely devastating. It was devastating because I realised then that they'd just been dangling us along to
Yes.
have access to our books and our information. So anyway, with the old owner and with the FD, we basically put ourselves out there, and we managed to get some shareholders on board, investors on board, and they backed the business. And so for the next 3 months, everybody worked not knowing whether they were going to get paid.
Right.
And we basically turned the business around within 4 to 6 weeks, and we set up as Woodvale Studios, and we didn't let down the factory. We paid everybody. We were
Brilliant.
supported by our retailers, and that was bloody hard. I can't
Yes.
tell you how hard it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have done it without the team. The team were amazing, and most of those people are with me now. And if not, they're friends with me now, if you know what I
Brilliant.
mean.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
It was the hardest, toughest time. And then we took over in the April, and then in the June, Brexit happened.
Right.
So we're a business that buys most of its commodities and products from the Far East. They're designed in our studio in Brighouse.
Yeah.
And the product development and the production is placed here, but it's actually to factories in China, partnership
Yes.
factories in China. And once Brexit happened and the currency crashed, we were running a very, very different business, something
Yeah.
we hadn't anticipated, putting massive financial challenge on the business. And then literally couple of years after that, as we were sort of getting to sort of getting our heads around that, really. Then COVID happened.
Yeah,
Oh, and in the
yes.
meantime, we had a flood in our warehouse, and so a lot of stock was destroyed. So I mean, it was literally one thing after another in those first 5 years. I was like, oh my golly, what the heck have I done? Really, what the heck have I done?
So,
But like I say, we haven't lost a retailer, which is incredible, and great credit to my team that kept on looking after those retailers and have those partnership and those relationships with the retailers to keep supporting us.
wonderful. Uh, uh,
Yeah,
what an amazing story, and and having gone through that, and hopefully, um, hopefully it's although I know it's traumatic and no one would probably wish or want to go through that process. I think it's important to highlight there is life on the other side of there can be life on the other side of this. And now, as you say, 10 years from there, you've built the business back to it, without losing a retailer. So
yeah,
it's not something I would naturally say, oh, great, let's do it. But I think a lot of people really, really fear going into administration. And while
yeah.
it's very painful, it doesn't mean it's the end.
No, no, I think that's right. I think that you have to you have to be flexible, you have to work hard, and you have to go the extra mile. And if
Yeah.
you have those people around you who are prepared to do it with you, then it is possible. And actually,
Yes.
where it's the best thing that ever happened to us. To have been part of that London-based group wouldn't have been right for us.
Yeah.
To be part of our bigger competitor wouldn't have been right to us. They would have just stripped us anyway. I mean, not that they ever intended to buy us.
No.
And for us to now be in charge of our own destiny with supportive shareholders is a much better place for us to be,
Brilliant.
and and I feel like, I've got a really good FD and I've got a brilliant team. So I'm not I'm maths has never been my strong point. But I feel if you surround yourself by great people and if you work really hard, then it's amazing what you can achieve.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And you probably you may or may not be aware of this the survival stats of businesses, but just to further emphasize the success that you've achieved, you're about to celebrate 10 years. Well, in the first 5 years of operations, 80% of businesses fail, and of the 20% that survive, another 80% fail in the following 5 years.
Right.
So getting to 10 puts you in the top 4% of businesses.
Oh, I'm going to use that with my team. I'm going to tell them that. That's
Please,
great. Yeah.
please do. It's worth celebrating, and I don't. How good are you at celebrating? Because I think I would suggest it's a hell of a celebration when you do hit 10.
Yeah. 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 No, we are. I'm going to start planning things. Yeah,
Brilliant.
absolutely. I'm going to celebrate because, if you asked me, if the question that you asked me was what was the key to your success, I'd say the people around me.
Yep.
That's what I would say. That's why our business has been successful.
Yep.
That's why I enjoy working.
Yes.
And we all enjoy working. I'm not saying we don't have bad days, because we all have bad days. And
Absolutely.
sometimes we're super stressed, and sometimes I'm awake all night worrying. But but the people around me are, if I'm having a bad day, they pick me up, the team, they pick me up.
Yeah.
And if they're having a bad day, I pick them up. We all pick each other up.
Yeah.
If people are ill, if they've got family problems, a lot of my people are working mums. And
Yeah.
I always say to them, you shouldn't miss a speech day, and you shouldn't miss a sports day, and
Brilliant.
you shouldn't miss an assembly. You've got to get that work-life balance. And
Absolutely.
and for them to do that, they are they're super loyal. They are brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more about getting a great team around you. Any other
Yeah.
key learnings about growing a business successfully?
Flexibility, always
Yeah.
looking for something new, change, don't be frightened of change. That's what I always do. I think that my biggest role now is to keep thinking about the future, and to keep thinking about, when we started this business as Woodvale Studios nearly 10 years ago, we sold paper products. We were gift wrap. We do private label. Everything. When you go into John Lewis, Waitrose, Tesco, the
Yeah.
gift wrap, the bags, Christmas and every day, that was ours.
Got you.
Sometimes and over that period of time, if we've lost business, it's because decisions have been made at the highest
Yeah,
possible level with those retailers
yeah,
about maybe they need merchandisers to cover the stores, and there's another company that when they're going in to merchandise their products, if they get our business, they'll merchandise that business as well, and they can take store costs out.
yeah.
Decisions that are made that, and people then say to me, it's no reflection of the
I
business that you're doing. You are
totally
our
get it.
preferred supplier, but we have to take away the business. And we've had, and when you lose business from, those big retailers, you lose a chunk of business and a chunk of turnover.
Yes.
So I think you have to always be thinking, right, where's my next
Yeah.
opportunity? And you have to use your relationships. So now, we supply stationery, we supply ceramics, we supply gifting, we work with brands to supply those gifting products, things that we didn't even consider 10 years ago. But now, through our relationships, people say, oh, could you help so and so do some gift bags? And we're like, yeah, we'll do that. Yes. And my team always laugh because I never say no. I always say yes, and then think, how the hell are we going to do that?
Well, I think that's a very that's a very successful strategy. I think Richard Branson talks about that as well. It's just the answer's always
Right.
yes, then you just work out what to do. And like
Yeah.
it
Yeah. And my
that's,
team, you can imagine they're like, oh my golly, what's she really
yeah,
doing now?
yes, that's what we've got lined up. We've got lined up for us now. Absolutely, but that's we have. I mean, we do have to be. The answer has to be yes, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
if we become renowned for saying no, then they'll be
Yeah.
moving on to somebody else quite quickly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And Tracy, I think where we were a business coaching organisation. I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, or life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you personally?
Whew, that's, I'm a people person. I think that maybe is quite obvious. And I have always had, my family are really important to me.
Yeah,
My husband, my kids, my parents who are no longer with us, um, the wider family, my friends. I've got a really strong group of friends behind me that
brilliant.
give me support every day of my life. And then, into work, the people that I've worked with, I think that you learn from everybody. You learn from the person that, you learn from everybody. So I
Yeah,
don't I've had a few people in my life that have sort of tried to, and been super helpful and super supportive when I've needed it, without a doubt.
yeah,
The shareholders of this business,
yeah.
But I take from everybody. I'm such a taker. I decide what's right for us. That's
This
what I would say.
I think that's really valid. It's being open to lots of forms of help, and then working out what's
Yeah,
best for us is
yeah,
really key.
yeah,
Um, really
yeah.
valuable thing to do. Um,
I think if you've got the backing of people,
yeah,
then you can reach mountains. You
absolutely.
can climb everything. You can, if you're confident in that,
Yeah,
then you can try and fail, and it doesn't matter.
great.
You just got to keep trying.
Yeah, bang on. Couldn't agree more. And do you have any favorite? I love collecting quotes and sayings. It's just something I do. Do you have any favorite quotes or sayings you catch yourself using a lot about business or success or just life?
Well, everybody would say that what I say is constant communication,
Right, cool. Constant communication, brilliant.
because I just keep in contact, and constant communication is what it's all about for me. I'm a
It
talker.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's great, but it's great, isn't it? Because I find so many people go, oh, for instance, I'll just email them or just, and that's okay, but pick up the phone. It's that human contact as well, isn't it? Pick up the phone, video calls
Yeah,
that you have on a regular
yeah,
basis, and I find I really strongly believe too much attempted communication. It's not even communication; it's done with text, and whether it's text or email
yeah,
and there's
oh,
no
yeah,
tonality.
yeah,
People will read our email or text in either the mood they think we're in when we write it, or the mood they're in when they receive it. But it's
yeah.
not
You're
necessarily the
absolutely
mood
right.
it's intended.
Yeah, you're so right. Do you know, and in fact, I've had that reminded again to me this week, and I've spoken to the team because over the last 3 weeks we've had three key meetings, and after each meeting, I mean, one of them in theory I probably shouldn't have been involved in because it probably was the people that were maybe the sort of higher up the management scale couldn't end up coming to the meeting.
Right.
But when I came back into the office and I said, oh my golly, it just reminds me the importance of going to people and having those face-to-face meetings. You learn so much more. And so, last night I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning and my head was buzzing because I had a meeting yesterday. We had a buyer in. She was so inspiring. And I'm like, right, now then, what are our next things? And I've got up this morning and I've written an action list because
Brilliant.
that I then share with my team at the next management meeting because I'm
Brilliant.
thinking, right, actually, this isn't what we were hearing, what we were expected to hear, but actually we can turn it into our advantage. That's what we need to do.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely believe, communication is key, and as you said, constant communication, but also in the right ways is so important. And do you have any favorite books or podcasts on business or success that you can recommend? Don't if you don't. Some people do, some people don't. But is there anything that's made a difference to you?
No, not really.
Cool.
No, I'm afraid not. No, I am an avid reader, but I read, novels and
Yeah, great.
books. That's my
Well,
happy space is reading, to be honest, but
brilliant.
not nothing learned. I just read to escape.
No, which is great. Interesting enough that I do find, and I'm a big film, I say film buff is the wrong word, but I like films, and you can learn stuff from fiction. There are lessons there everywhere, I think, and so I think it's great that we can learn it, but also that escape, having an escape and something there to go is so valuable when we're clearly working so hard. Uh, and so the last thing on learning in general, what have would you say you learned about yourself throughout your journey so far, Tracy?
I'm not one that really self spends a lot of time like self-analyzing or anything.
No,
I'm sort of the person that just lives in the moment. I think I do know that I'm only as good as the people around me. I absolutely know that without a doubt. I also have learned that I just learned that you've got to have passion. You've got to have passion. You've got to love what you do. You've got to believe in what you do. It's not sales. I don't sell. I work with fabulous products and work with fabulous people to create amazing things. And if to call it sales would be just such an under justice of what it is because you have to believe in what you do. And that's what I think I've really learned is that I believe in what I do. For other people, they might look at it and think, oh, it's just a mug. But for me, oh my golly, it's got the fabulous design. Look at the handle, look at the whatever. And I can genuinely get excited about a gift bag or a
brilliant.
mug.
Quite right too.
And passion, that's what I think.
It,
I've learned that you need passion.
brilliant. I mean, I completely agree. And if we're doing something that we don't enjoy, then we should be doing something else. In all honesty, but
You're a
but
long time working.
I'm gonna support sales in general right now because I'm gonna challenge it slightly. So I believe our definition of sales is professionally helping people buy what they need.
Yeah,
It's I think the word sales has a connotation of trying to make something buy what they don't want, and that
yeah.
isn't sales. That's
Although, to be perfectly honest, in some of the areas that we work in, we want people to buy what they want and to fall in love with something. They don't need it. You don't need another mug.
no, that's
But
okay.
oh my golly, you don't need that notebook, but you love it so much you can't help but pick it up.
And that's okay. The point, I guess, the point is, we're not making something do something you don't want to do. That's what people
Oh, absolutely.
see.
Yeah.
That's the connotation, I think, because that's selling. Helping
Yeah,
people
yeah.
buy what they want is selling. It is sales.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not suggesting, and it's a big thing. So I do quite a lot of sales training and client delight training and a whole bunch of stuff. But with sales training, you may or may not be surprised to find I'll sit in a group of salespeople and I'll say, what's the first word that comes into your head when I say sales or salesperson? And the amount of negative words that come out, slimy, greasy, whatever,
Yeah,
and I just say, look, let's just think about this right now. If you're thinking, you're going to a sales meeting and you're thinking the other person thinks that of you, you've already lost. you're already you're already on the back foot, not the front foot. It's
yeah,
like we're
yeah,
here to help people. We've got
yeah,
amazing products and services. Our job is to
yeah,
show the value of that, connect that up with a need if it exists, and if it exists,
yeah,
if we're the best people, we've got to show why we're the best people, and then the sale is made. It's not, as you said, it's not forcing, it's not doing anything, but
yeah.
it's a fascinating discipline because so many people see negative connotations in it when it is just like if 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 sales didn't exist, then nothing would ever happen.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's like when I said earlier to you, the fact that my ambition is when a buyer comes to visit us and they were like, oh my gosh, wow, I wasn't expecting that from you. And then we solve all their problems. So, we've got issues on display. Well, listen, we've created this CDU for you, and we've got issues with this. Well, look, we've done that. We've reduced the case size. We try and anticipate their problems, and then we solve them for them.
Brilliant. I picked that up when you said that really early on because
Mm,
the only real type of sale is problem solving selling.
yeah,
It is what's your challenge. It starts with what your challenge is or what problem you have. If we can solve it, we're going to show you how. If we can't, we'll try and help you find somebody else that can maybe help you. But it's about helping that. Once people realise we're there to help them solve the problems, then the relationship is built strongly, isn't it? It's not, product pushing or, just saying anything to get the sale. It's just saying, what do you need? Okay,
yeah.
I think we can help you there. This is how we can help you.
That's so true. Absolutely so true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a big passion to be helping people with selling because it's just like I've actually been asked to do some training for or I'm talking about some training for an organisation that's primarily account management in terms of receiving orders and stuff, but actively wanting to highlight all the other wonderful things that they do. So it's and but I've been instructed we can't use the word sales because it was like, oh, I've got to be, I'm not going to be a salesperson. So then we have some fun and games there if we make that happen. That's great. So Tracy, I mean, what an amazing history and what amazing, to get to here where you are. Looking forward, then, what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Oh, we'll always face challenges, without a doubt. The nature of business and working with big retailers is always a challenge,
Yeah.
and you never know where it's going to come from, to be perfectly honest. So we have to work harder. We have to pivot, as you said earlier. We
Yes.
always have to do that. So for us, we're showing at the Harrogate Home and Gift Fair for the first time ever.
Oh, great.
We're And the reason why we've done that is because in the past, sort of 99% of our business was on private label, own label products. But over the past sort of 2 or 3 years, as we work with brands, we're creating ranges that then we can sell to other people as well. And so we're really trying out and testing that area, hoping that we can engage with people like garden centres and independents and people that have maybe a few stores,
Right.
that really changes the way that our business works. Because if that's the case, then we'll need a trade website. We'll need to think about how we do sales. We'll need to work very differently with our warehouse, because rather than sending big volume out to the retailers, you're going to be picking to go to a small
Yes.
independent that's looking much smaller order sizes, working on minimum orders. So I'm not saying we're going to go down that route, but we're exploring that route, and we're
Yeah.
investing what we need to do to understand it further. So that's something new and really exciting, possibly. Who knows? We're also looking
Right.
to
So,
work very different brands, and I'm hoping I've got a couple of things in the pipeline that are potentially business changing at the moment, which
yeah.
come and talk to me in 12 months' time, and I'll tell you if they if
Let's
they
do it. Yeah, I really would love to. Let's catch up again in 6, 12 months and just see where those. I appreciate their secrets at the moment. Casey Guy's secrets, quite right too. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, I can't share it at the moment, but it
all
could
good.
again take our business in a completely different direction and came out and has potentially come to us through word of mouth and recommendations, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. We're not there yet, but I'll let you know if we get over the line. But there's two or three things that I'm just sort of looking at and thinking, how can we change? You know, as a business, bearing in mind everything that I've talked about over the last 12 months, we've invested additional people into the business because the type of products that we're working now are much more complex. They're more complex in terms of the makeup, the variety. You know, we're supplying now everything from nail files and candles through to yoga mats and gym bags, vases, you name it. We are wash bags. We are supplying it, which is a lot different to just supplying paper products. You know, so we're trying to. We've been running to try and keep up, and we're going to definitely. I think we're going to definitely continue further down that route. At the moment, again, we've been saying yes to everything. We may have to rein it in a little bit to then focus on a particular area.
Yes, got you.
But I don't know yet. You know, that might be our USP, that we do everything.
Perfect. I'm a great believer in test and measure, try stuff and see, you know, and you know, maybe all of it works, maybe only some of it is best, but without trying, then we won't have the capacity to grow and develop and change. So absolutely brilliant. And I'm keen to know what you'd say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now.
Oh my golly, do it. I mean, but find something that you were excited about, you know, and then follow that dream. You know, I say to my kids, you know, you're a long time working and also have some life experience on the side. You know, my daughter's had some working, you know, she finished university during COVID and she's worked for some fabulous businesses in marketing and she's just decided she's going to go and do Australia for 12 months, which is something that I did. And
brilliant.
Do it, you know, do it. Finance yourself. Don't expect handouts, but finance yourself, work, earn, do it. You know, because what you're gaining confidence from doing those things, you'll be able to bring into the workplace. So that's what I would say. I would say say yes to everything. Go into business with a mind of thinking what interests me, what area interests me, and then pursue it. And if someone says no to you, think, well, I'm going to keep badgering that person until they say yes. And how else can I get around it? That's what I've always said to my kids as well. You know, if you don't get to succeed first, just keep trying harder.
Brilliant. And I just want to put this in context. That's a very passionate presentation of starting, you know, just do it, find what you're passionate about. And that's despite all the traumas and challenges you faced of the history of going into administration, all those things. So despite all of that, you'd strongly recommend anyone that's thinking about it, find the right one. Absolutely. But just get on and do it.
Absolutely. And you know,
brilliant.
When you have the bad times, it really makes you appreciate the better times.
100%. I absolutely believe with that. It's not direct related, but one of my favourite quotes because I do collect them is a Japanese proverb which says, "Fall down 7 times, but get up 8." And I think I'm on 13 or 14 at the moment, but it's it's like it's the getting up. It's the keeping getting up. The failure is not getting up, and I don't blame anyone for not getting up because some traumas are too much, but it's the getting up is the success. It's not the falling down is the failure. It's just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Life's hard, you know, without a doubt. You're always going to have challenges, and particularly in business, and they're going to come and where you didn't expect them to come from, to be perfectly honest. But you know, I was called down in the last 5 years to a meeting with a big retailer and told that they were exiting us.
Right.
And because I'd had a quick meet, it was quite a sort of, because the meeting was within the 2 weeks and it was to see somebody really high up. I knew that you only get called for those sort of meetings if it's going to be bad news. So I was super prepared. I was absolutely super prepared. And I went in there with the history of that retailer and ourselves over the last 20 years with pictures and the products that we'd brought to the table. And then I'd also done a partnership presentation. so that I talked about why we were important to that retailer and why that retailer was important to us, and about how they
Brilliant.
supported us through, administration, and what we'd actually done to support them, how we'd gone the extra mile over the 5 years since. And at the end of it, I said, I passionately believe that if you stop working with us, I anticipated this meeting, and if you stop working with us, it will be catastrophic for Woodvale Studios. But I also passionately believe that it will be equally catastrophic for you.
Wow.
And we are still dealing with them. We
Wow.
lost some business because that decision was taken at the highest level, but
Yep.
actually it's opened doors to us
Brilliant.
because made people stop and think. So fight every way in a really positive way. And I said ultimately, if you decide that that's the route you're going to go down, when you stop working with us, you will say to yourselves, oh my golly, Woodvale are still working as passionately now on the last day as they have done every single day that they've worked with us. You will not see
Brilliant.
any detriment to that business. I said, but I'm here to get you to change your mind, or at least to think that you should change your mind. And
Brilliant.
that director said, yeah, well, you've succeeded, and leave it with me and I'll come back to you. And to be fair, she did. And she's came up to visit us, and we presented where we thought our opportunities were, and we have now landed those opportunities, and it's been phenomenal.
Wow. What a great story, and what a great
Yeah,
example of how passion wins.
passion wins. Yeah, yeah.
Fabulous. And a final question: what? And you might have given it a little bit away talking about your children, but what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that, Tracy?
I would say to that 18-year-old me to work hard, follow your dreams, and surround yourself by fabulous people, and you won't go far wrong.
Lovely. What a great a great quote to finish on. I think that's very valuable advice for anybody. Um, Tracy, it's been really fascinating to talk to you and very inspiring, and what a great story that you have. And clearly, we're on to next thing. So let's make sure we swing by another 6, 12 months and just see when, what these new developments are as and when you can share those with us. But for anyone watching right now that would like to get in touch with you or your business, what would be the best way of doing that?
Oh, well, to contact me via email, which is Tracy Robinson, Tracy Robinson at woodvalestudios.co.uk.
Brilliant. Wonderful. Well, it'd be great to catch you again, as I said, in a little while. For now, thank you so much for your time.
Chris, I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for listening.
Me too. Thank you.